killing. For more on this, I'm joined by the former Pakistani ambassador to the United States, Hussein Haqqani. Ambassador, this is awful. How often do these kinds of so-called honor killings occur in Pakistan?
Unfortunately, a little too frequently. And what is really bad is that the police and the judiciary do not seem to sympathize with the victims as they ought to. That has really become Pakistan's problem. The country is divided between those who would like to lead it into the 21st century and those who would like to drag it into the 8th. And the state apparatus, instead of standing by the victim, tends to look upon these things as cultural crimes rather than recognizing them for the human rights violations they are.
That's truly a horrible story, but I want to turn, Ambassador, to another truly horrible story as well. That's unfolded in recent days in Pakistan. Dr. Mehdi Qamar, an American citizen, was in Pakistan to provide free medical care to heart patients as he was visiting a local graveyard to see the graves of relatives. He was shot and killed by two men right in front of his wife and 3-year-old son. Many believe he was killed for his faith. He's a member of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community. This isn't the first time a member of this Muslim community has been gunned down in Pakistan. The question is there state support for these kinds of murders?
Well, the problem is that the Pakistani constitution declares the Ahmadiyyas as non-Muslim. Now, I can understand people in the United States who consider members of one sect or another as not sufficiently Christian, but the state has no business declaring somebody in that position. Unfortunately, there are many laws in Pakistan that discriminate against the Ahmadis. For example, they are forbidden from calling themselves Muslims or call their places of worship mosques, and there is a hate campaign against them which continues, often abetted by the media. Once there was an Ahmadi who was killed after a cleric came on television and said we must kill Ahmadis, and the guy who killed them said I was inspired by the television preacher. So it is a culture of impunity that has been created in an environment of religious hatred that has been fanned by extremists, and the state has spent most of its time and energies preparing for war with India instead of paying attention at home. For example, the country has a very young population. 60% of Pakistanis are below the age of 30, but almost 42% of children who should be in preschool or primary school don't go to any school, and those who go to school are taught hate. So the Ahmadis, the Christians, the Hindus, and now increasingly the Shias of Pakistan are all being targeted by various extremist groups that target them for their religious beliefs. And that's what happened with Dr. Qamar, although he had gone there to do a noble task.
He leaves Ohio. He's a cardiologist. He wants to help Pakistanis. He goes there. He volunteers his free time, and he's gunned down in front of his wife and 3-year-old little boy for no reason at all, no reason that any of us here in the West can certainly understand. A true tragedy, a heartbreaking situation unfolding both of these cases in Pakistan. Ambassador Haqqani, thanks very much for joining us. We'll continue our coverage of these stories down the road. Hussein Haqqani is the former Pakistani ambassador to the United States. Coming up at